To everyone. It is the 10th of October, and this month is really speeding towards the middle of the month already. It's hard to believe how fast time flies. And we're going to be talking about time today because we're going to continue talking about the problem-solving process and overcoming sin process that we find in the creation story in Genesis chapter 1. So far we talked about day one of creation where God created the light, and that's step one of our problem-solving process where we ask Him to shine light on our problem and give us a light at the end of the tunnel so that we can resolve our problem and know that there is a way to get out of it and get out of the darkness and into the light. Day two is where God separated the waters above from the waters beneath, and that's where we separate ourselves from the problem, take a look at it to see it for what it is. And of course, I've stressed all along that that's the honesty step where we have to be honest with ourselves in what is the root cause of this problem, what's triggering our sin, and how are we going to deal with it. We need to see it for what it is, without excuse and without any rationalization that, it's not all that bad and whatnot. You know how we can be. So we need to make sure that we're being honest on this step before we move on to step three. And we talked about step three yesterday, where God takes us out of the problem. We might feel overwhelmed by it and drowning in a sea of emotions over it, but God takes us out of the sea and sets us on dry land, because it was on the third day that He created land and separated from the sea and established borders and boundaries. And that's what we need to establish for ourselves, borders and boundaries, as far as staying away from our problems, staying away from sin, or I shouldn't say staying away from our problem, resolving our problem and making sure that we see that it doesn't overcome our life or doesn't overstep its bounds in our life, where it's the driving force of our life. Because sometimes people can be driven by the problems and the emotions that they're having over those problems. So, we have those boundaries. Plus, when God created the land, He created resources for us to live. The food for the animals, food for human beings. And He established a place that not only where we could live, but a place where we could thrive and survive with the food that He was providing to us. So, and in our problem-solving process, step three involves finding the right resources to go to try to help us get through the problem and also overcome the sin. And we talked about the Bible being one of those resources. We talked about other believers being one of those resources, or going to a church where we can meet up with people of faith so that we have their resources, their testimony of what God was doing in their lives and has done in their lives and is doing in their lives. So, we have these steps that we can take. See the light at the end of the tunnel, shine the light on the problem, separate ourselves from the problem so we can identify it and study it and see it for what it is, as well as what's triggering our sin. And then the third step would be getting our feet on solid ground and seeing what resources we have available to us to help us resolve the problem and overcome sin, which brings us to day four. And day four in creation, it says here in Genesis chapter 1, starting at verse 14, "And God said, 'Let bright lights appear in the sky to separate the day from the night. They will be signs to mark off the seasons, the days, and the years. Let their light shine upon the earth.' And so it was. For God made two great lights, the sun and the moon, to shine upon the earth. The greater one, the sun, presides, it's early in the morning yet, presides during the day. The lesser one, the moon, presides through the night. He also made the stars. God set these lights in the heavens to light the earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good." This all happened on the fourth day. So, what is God creating here? He's putting the sun and the moon and the stars in the sky. And He talks about how they mark off the days and the seasons and the years and the times of the different festivals. So, He's essentially creating time here on this day. And this is a crucial element in our problem-solving process. You see, if we're going to look for God's help, then we're going to have to learn patience. Because when God helps us with a problem or overcoming sin, We have to allow him to do it in his timing, not ours, his timing. And that's kind of tough for us to do because look at the society we live in. We have touchscreen type stuff that we can go into the internet and look for answers that we're seeking, and they're available at the touch of a screen. So we're kind of spoiled because when we're looking for something, we want it like right away. We want it like yesterday. Speed is a factor in everything that's happening in life. Delivery of different products, delivery of food, we just don't have patience anymore. We want to get there. I mean, if you've ever been out driving recently, you know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of people out there that are in a hurry. So this step is going to be hard for some people because it requires patience and it requires trust. And trust in whom? Trust in God. Because if we allow him to work in his timing, we're going to give him the opportunity not only to help us resolve the problem or overcome the sin, but he's going to use this as a learning opportunity for us. Because his word says that he's forever refining us in the fire like gold. And what he's doing is he's burning all the impurities that are in us up to the top of the surface so he can skim them off and make us better, more refined, a better person. So when we have a problem or a sin that we're caught up in, God, when he helps us, is going to utilize this and see it as an opportunity to make us better. In other words, this is the tool that he uses to turn us into the person that he intended us to be when he created us. And we have to understand that. And, folks, we really got to take advantage of this. We're learning from God, the creator of the universe, the one who has unconditional love for us, only wants the best for us and wants to help us and wants us to be a better person, wants us to realize our potential. And what else will we learn during this experience? We also learn that nothing is impossible for God. All things are possible for God. So it doesn't matter what kind of problem we have or how deep into it we are or how unworthy we may feel because of our sin. None of that matters because God wants to use these problems to make us better. He's using it to show us that not only is he with us, but we are capable of handling these things and we're capable of more than what we give ourselves credit for. But it has to be in his timing. So if we're going through this, we can't expect God to wave a magic wand or say some sort of blessing over us and suddenly our problems merely vanish or disappear. It doesn't work that way. We may have to work through this problem a couple days, couple hours, couple minutes, or maybe a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, even maybe a couple years. But do you have what it takes to allow God to help you in this situation? Absolutely. He's the one that created you. He knows how you operate. He knows everything about you, and he knows what you can endure, and he knows what's best for you. So that's why it's important for us to know that when we go to God for help, it's not going to be a touchscreen thing where we just pull up the website for the kingdom of heaven and we touch saying problem solving and what is your problem? Well, this is my problem and here's the solution and upload it or update it or install it. It's not like that at all. But we have to understand that when we're waiting on God, we have to think about what is it he wants us to learn from this? What is it that he wants us to get from this? How is he strengthening us? How is he improving us? How is he increasing our wisdom and our knowledge? These are things we need to be praying about as we're waiting upon him. And I know that the Bible talks about people being impatient because in the New Testament we read about where people will look around and say, well, didn't Jesus say he was coming back? Well, where is he? Why isn't he here? Why hasn't he returned? Is he going to return? Well, the Bible tells us why it's taken a while before Jesus comes back. Because he's being patient with us. And why is he being patient with us? Because he wants everyone the opportunity. He wants to afford everybody the opportunity to overcome sin in their life, to overcome their problems, so that everyone can be saved. He's not dragging his feet. He's just giving us the time we need to get right with him. So, don't be impatient. If God wants to take his time with you, and think about it, he's the one that holds the whole universe together. He's in control. So if he has enough time in his schedule for you to deal with you personally, shouldn't you afford him the time that he wants to give you to help you? It's important for us to consider. But that, my friends, is step 4. Tomorrow, we'll talk about step 5. Until then, have a great day, good Monday, and remember, nothing in this world is more important than the love of Jesus Christ. Talk to you soon.